President Donald Trump is making headlines once again, this time with a move that is as bold as it is controversial. The president has announced that he is reviving the historic name, Department of War, for the United States military's central institution. On Friday, he is set to sign an executive order authorizing the Pentagon, officially known since 1949 as the Department of Defense, to adopt the older title as a secondary name. His Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, will also adopt the historic title of Secretary of War. To many Americans, this may sound like a purely symbolic change. But the symbolism is powerful, and it carries with it not only historical weight but also real political and global implications. For Trump, this decision is about restoring strength, projecting power, and stripping away what he calls political correctness. For critics, it is about militarism, wasted resources, and an unnecessary provocation on the world stage. The Department of War is not a new creation. In fact, it was one of the very first executive departments of the United States, established by Congress in 1789 under President George Washington. For more than a century and a half, it oversaw the Army, managed military policy, and coordinated America's wars. Under that name, the U.S. mobilized for the Civil War, for World War I, and for World War II. The Department of War played a decisive role in America's rise as a global superpower. It was only after the end of World War II that Congress restructured the military. In 1947, the War Department was formally abolished, merged with the Department of the Navy, and reorganized into the Department of Defense. That change reflected a new era. The United States did not want to present itself as an aggressor, but as a nation devoted to defending freedom, containing communism, and maintaining peace. The word, defense, became part of America's global branding. Trump, however, argues that this softer image no longer matches reality. According to the text of the executive order, which has been seen by the BBC, the president believes that the name, Department of War, conveys a stronger message of readiness and resolve compared to Department of Defense, which emphasizes only defensive capabilities. His argument is that the United States should not shy away from acknowledging the truth. America is a military power, and its military exists not just to defend but to fight and win wars when necessary. The order instructs Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to begin using the title, Secretary of War, in public appearances, in communications, and in official documents. Subordinate offices will also be permitted to use the secondary name. But legally, a permanent change requires an act of Congress. Only lawmakers can amend the law that defines the department's title. Trump has expressed confidence that Congress will support him if needed. "I don't even think we need that," he said last week, "but if we need that, I'm sure Congress will go along." Whether Congress does so remains to be seen. The cost of such a rebranding could be staggering. Analysts estimate that a full change, covering everything from uniforms and insignias to websites, building signage, email addresses, federal documents, and military vehicles, could cost over $1 billion. At a time when the Pentagon faces criticism for overspending and waste, this will spark intense debate. Is this the best use of taxpayer money? Beyond the financial cost, the political cost may be even greater. Democrats are already criticizing the move, arguing that it reflects Trump's obsession with optics over substance. Some lawmakers say the president is more interested in symbolic battles than in tackling real challenges such as military readiness, veteran care, and global security threats. Progressive voices warn that the name change will make America appear more aggressive, damaging alliances and emboldening adversaries who already portray the U.S. as militaristic. Republicans, however, are more divided. Many conservative lawmakers and commentators are praising the move as a restoration of honesty and tradition. They argue that defense has become a euphemism, while war is the reality. Some veterans, especially from older generations, say the historic title carries pride and prestige, connecting today's soldiers with those who fought in America's greatest conflicts. But even among conservatives, there are concerns about cost and timing. With rising national debt and growing global crises, is this really the moment for $1 billion rebranding? Meanwhile, military experts are weighing in. Some generals and analysts argue that names matter in strategy and diplomacy. Words like war and defense send signals to allies and adversaries alike. Reverting to War Department, they say, could embolden America's enemies, convincing them that the U.S. is preparing for confrontation rather than cooperation. It could also unsettle allies who prefer to see the U.S. as a stabilizing partner. On the other hand, Some strategists believe the name change will reinforce deterrence, sending a clear message that America is ready and willing to fight if provoked. International reaction is also crucial. The timing of this announcement is notable. Just days earlier, China unveiled a massive military parade featuring new weapons, drones, and other advanced technologies. The display was widely interpreted as a challenge to the United States and its allies. Against this backdrop, Trump's decision looks like a deliberate attempt to counter China's message with one of America's own, that it is not backing down, and that it is not afraid to embrace war as part of its identity. Russia, too, is likely to seize on the announcement as propaganda, portraying America as a nation that thrives on war rather than peace. The symbolism of this change reaches deep into America's culture as well. For decades, the Pentagon has been criticized for being bogged down by bureaucracy, political debates, and what Trump calls woke ideology. Trump and Hegseth argue that the military has become too focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, distracting from its core mission of warfighting. Renaming the department, in their view, is a way to refocus priorities and reassert a warrior ethos. Critics counter that such rhetoric undermines morale, alienates service members, and oversimplifies the complex challenges facing the armed forces. Trump himself has presented the change as part of his larger philosophy. Earlier this week, he dismissed speculation about pursuing the Nobel Peace Prize. "All I can do is put out wars," he told CBS News. "I don't seek attention, I just want to save lives." This paradoxical message, framing war as a path to peace, has long been part of Trump's brand. He often claims credit for avoiding wars while simultaneously projecting toughness and unpredictability. The revival of the War Department title fits neatly into that narrative. This executive order also marks Trump's 200th since taking office, highlighting his reliance on unilateral presidential authority. Over and over, he has used executive orders to bypass Congress and push forward his agenda. While this particular order does not carry the force of law in renaming the department, it demonstrates once again his willingness to act first and force debate later. For the American public, reactions are mixed. Some supporters see this as patriotic and honest, a reminder that America's military exists to fight. Others see it as dangerous, unnecessary, and even embarrassing. Social media is already flooded with debate, with hashtags both praising and mocking the Department of War. Some veterans are nostalgic, recalling the pride their grandfathers felt serving under that banner. Others worry it sends the wrong message to today's troops, who are often engaged in peacekeeping and humanitarian missions as much as combat. As this story develops, the real test will come in Congress. Lawmakers will have to decide whether to embrace this symbolic yet costly change. Will they agree that America needs to revive its warrior identity, or will they push back, arguing that the United States should continue to define itself as a defender, not an aggressor? The debate will touch on history, identity, politics, and the nation's role in the world. At the heart of the issue is a simple but profound question: what should America's military stand for? Is it a shield, protecting the nation and its allies, or is it a sword, ready to strike at threats wherever they arise? By reviving the Department of War, Trump is betting that Americans are ready to embrace the sword once again. Whether that gamble succeeds, politically, financially, or strategically, is something only time will reveal. For now, the president has set the stage for a debate that will echo through Washington, through the halls of the Pentagon, and across the globe. The name may be just two words, but those two words carry the weight of history, the force of symbolism, and the power to shape America's image for generations to come.